All right, so go with me on this. I'm your average Joe athlete, but two guys just broke the 2-hour marathon barrier. Incredible, really. And they did it in the same race, both wearing Adidas shoes. And a week earlier, Nike was apologizing for a sign that they posted at the Boston Marathon: runners welcome, walkers tolerated. Look, that's not just a bad week in my book. That is a signal, because right now, Adidas and Nike aren't just competing on performance anymore. They're fighting for something much bigger. Who owns running culture?
And now it's time.
It's time!
It's time for
Moneyball.
Moneyball.
Are you familiar with the story of Moneyball?
Hey team, welcome to Moneyball, the business of sport, because if you want to know what's really going on in sport, you got to follow the money, and I'm here to help you today. I'm your host, Scott Keenan, and I'm absolutely loving all of the comments coming through on YouTube and Instagram and Spotify. I think it shows that you're really picking up what I'm putting down, which is so cool. And after getting featured on Apple Podcasts over the last couple of weeks, I've got to say a big welcome to all of our new listeners there. Now, running, it is really having a moment. There is no doubt about it. And look, hey, even I ran a 10K PB recently in a race, and I've signed up for another one. So this old guy is getting into it as well. And I think it's because it's a low barrier entry sport. Like, all you really need is a good pair of shoes, or an average pair to start with, and the will to put one foot in front of the other. But it is competitive and it is big business, which is why I want to dig into it today. And there is a big shift on right now that I want to analyze, because for decades, the 2-hour marathon was pretty untouchable. Even Aussie legend Steve Moneghetti has said that he didn't think he'd see it broken in a real race in his lifetime. And yet we've seen it happen just in the last week or so. Nike spent years and millions trying to prove that it was possible, and they did get there under controlled conditions. But at the London Marathon, it finally happened for real, and it happened twice, which is so incredible. Two athletes running the marathon in under 2 hours in the same race, in a live race environment. Both of them were wearing Adidas, specifically and I'll get this right, the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1. It is a mouthful, but gee, what a shoe it is. It costs around 750 Australian dollars. You can buy them, and they are built for one thing. They're built for winning. It's a featherweight race shoe. It feels faster than any other shoe on the market, according to people that have tried it. And amazingly, for elite runners, they are made to wear just the one time. What we saw in London wasn't just a performance breakthrough. For me, it was a product statement, and Adidas really putting their best foot forward. For the last decade, Nike has owned distance running. Their Vaporfly shoes changed everything, delivering roughly 2 to 4% improvements in running efficiency at the elite level, which is enormous. That's the difference between winning and not winning. But what London showed is that Adidas hasn't just caught up. To me, it shows that they've actually moved ahead of Nike, because when there's multiple athletes at the front of a race producing historic times in the same shoe, to me, that's not just marketing. That is engineering, and that is the real deal from Adidas. Which brings me to the Boston Marathon and a bit of a moment there. Nike ran this line: runners welcome, walkers tolerated. And somebody that works in marketing, good marketing can be provocative. It can move people and change minds. But I don't think it should insult your customer. And I think they have erred on the insult side of things here on this occasion. Because for me, Nike's entire brand has been built around the opposite idea, which is just do it. And I've even got a Nike training tee that has inside the collar the words, if you have a body, you are an athlete. And it doesn't get any simpler than that. To me, that is the aspirational sort of message that just about anybody can get behind, and a brand and an idea that you can get around. And that is what made Nike so great. It's what made people feel included. So when the tone shifts even slightly, people notice. And the backlash to that statement, to that branding and positioning at Boston was immediate. The ad was pulled. The company apologized. But there is a bigger issue here, and it did expose something deeper, which to me is that Nike is trying to work out who they are at the moment. They have a legacy, but They've got these other competitors. They've got Adidas that is doing so well right now. And there is a shift on, and that's what I want to talk about. Because if you look at Adidas, for example, to start with, they've grown from roughly 35 billion Australian dollars to over 40 billion in sales in the last couple of years, and momentum is back for the three stripes. Performance credibility is back, as we saw in the London Marathon. And so the simplest way to say this is, I guess, that Nike is still bigger, but Adidas is growing. And right now, that does matter more. The momentum is with them. And little trips and slips along the way, like the one in Boston, really stand out and people take notice. And here is the real twist. I don't think Adidas or Nike really can lay claim to owning running culture anymore, because running itself has changed. And you can see it clearly here in Australia. More than 3 million Aussies are now recreational runners, pounding the pavement, just like me, out there, early mornings, on weekends. And the big shift as well is how people are running, because run clubs are exploding, not just in the big cities, in rural and regional areas as well. Sydney, Melbourne, Wollongong, Newcastle, the Sunshine Coast, wherever you go and wherever you live, there are run clubs. Early mornings, group runs, and coffee afterwards as well. It is definitely a social activity. And for a lot of people, especially people under the age of 40, this is definitely replacing nightlife. And these run clubs are sort of permeating all different parts of our society and culture. They're hosted by brands, by shoe shops, by gyms, even bakeries. In Sydney, AP Bakery, fantastic joint for a croissant and pastry and bread. They have a run club. Calories out, carbs in, and I'm all for it. I'm here for it, absolutely. And other run clubs too, like Unofficial Run Club in Sydney is another great example. They ran out of Milson's Point, started a few years ago as a handful of mates who couldn't even get across the Sydney Harbour Bridge without stopping. And now they host hundreds and thousands of runners across that group, some fast, some not so quick, some even walk, but nobody gets left behind. And I think that's a real key to this running group culture. It can be really athletic and competitive, but it can also be really inclusive. And look, don't forget parkrun as well. It started in England over 20 years ago. The 5K timed run here in Australia, we've got a number of brands that support it, including Medibank, and there are others. And it's an easy way to get 5Ks in. It's organised and anybody can be part of it. And in many ways, run clubs are starting to replace traditional gyms and traditional sport. It's why you're seeing gyms and even sporting clubs and groups starting run clubs so they can keep their members engaged and involved in what they're doing. Globally, participation in run clubs is up, up, up. I've seen numbers like 60% increases in recent years. You just have to look around and talk to your friends and family. This is not a niche trend. This is absolutely mainstream. And have a look at the events as well. I think that's where it's starting to become super interesting. Here in Australia, the Sydney Marathon is now on the verge of becoming a world marathon major, putting it alongside London, Boston, New York. And tickets to these events are selling out so quickly. You're seeing running events popping up all over the place. And demand is surging. International runners are flying in and participation is booming. It's the same with things like the City to Surf. It's one of the biggest fun runs in the world, tens of thousands of people every year, not elite, everybody can get involved. And I think that's the point. Running is not just about performance. It's not just about pounding the pavement. It's becoming more about participation. It's becoming about identity. It's becoming about belonging. And I think that is where the shift is really happening in the culture because, look, while Adidas and Nike are fighting at it at the top along with brands like Puma, there are brands like Hoka, ASICS, and even like local sort of athletic, athleisure wear and running brands like LSKD, which, go to that kind of 1% better every day idea. They're showing up at the ground level. They are showing up at the run club, at coffee shops, in the group chat. They're not just selling performance, they're building community. And, you go down even to the deeper level and some of those run clubs and groups that I was talking about, they're the brands that are connecting with those groups and they're building from the bottom up rather than from the top down like the big brands, Nike, Adidas, that associate with football clubs and major sporting organisations and athletes that we all know and love. There is definitely a groundswell from the bottom up that is happening too because These ground up brands and businesses, they're not just selling performance, they are very much building community. And running used to be about chasing times, but now it is very much about finding your people. So, yes, Adidas might be winning the race right now, and what was achieved in London was absolutely incredible. Nike still owns the legacy. That is true. But culture, well, that is being built somewhere else because right now, Adidas and Nike aren't just competing on performance anymore. There is no doubt about that. They are fighting for something much bigger. Who owns running culture? And in 2026, it might not be decided on race day. Instead, it might just be decided at 6 a.m. at your local run club. Nike taught the world to run, and now the question is, who is making runners feel like they belong?
Moneyball.
Well, there might be more questions in there than answers, but I've got a couple more for you. Are you heading out running in the morning? Are you listening to this on a run right now? And which brand do you reckon has the upper hand in the running wars? Who is winning hearts and minds in Australia for running groups and you as an individual if you're running? Do you buy into those big brands? I know I'm still a Nike guy, but those other emerging brands are doing so well and they are building community from the bottom up. Let me know in the comments on YouTube, on Spotify, or send me a DM on Instagram. Just search at Moneyball_show. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe for more breakdowns of business and sport. And you can follow the show, of course, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you've got a question about the business of sport, you can email me at any time. It's askmoneyball.show@gmail.com. Or if you want to pitch an idea for somebody who you think should come on the show and have a chat with me, by all means, send me an email. Love hearing from you and loving all of the comments that I'm seeing right at the moment. And remember, if you want to know what's really going on in sport, you got to follow the money. I'll see you next time.